CBS News Bay Area Afternoon Edition with Ann Mekovic.
Right now on the Afternoon Edition, a local police department trying to strike a balance between street safety and catching criminals. Major changes to the OPD's policy on high-speed pursuits. Thanks for joining us this Friday. Oakland's Police Commission just voted unanimously on some changes. Originally, officers had to get permission before chasing suspects who are going more than 50 miles per hour on city streets. Now they can get a head start. Veronica Macias breaks down the changes and why some are not on board.
Police officers here in Oakland now have more freedom to go after criminals. Imagine what it's like for a victim knowing that police cannot pursue a suspect trying to escape and speeding off. It all changes immediately in this latest effort in Oakland to crack down on crime. This policy now allowing officers to pursue a suspect going over 50 miles an hour. Officers no longer will have to call it in, just get clearance to continue a pursuit. Police Chief Floyd Mitchell arguing that high-speed pursuits are necessary in Oakland. But advocates who wanted the policy to remain the same are afraid of the potential innocent lives at risk when there's a high-speed chase on the streets of Oakland, because they've seen it before. In May, one incident strongly making the case against these high-speed pursuits, a beloved Castlemont High School teacher killed as a driver tried to get away from CHP. Law enforcement, though, said they had stopped chasing when Mr. Marvin Boomer was struck. While safety advocates praise this new policy, some people are questioning it and whether it will be worth risking lives here in Oakland.
The pursuit of non-violent felonies is just not on the table.
I feel like the police doing these chases isn't always the solution that we need, because at the end of the day, there's a bigger risk for the chases than there are a solution.
And there was pressure from the highest level here in California. The governor had threatened to pull CHP resources if the policy did not change here in Oakland. Data showing from police that there were a total of 600 police pursuits between the year of 2018 and 2023, 6 of them being deadly.
Oakland police say they will report back quarterly to see if the policy changes are leading to dangerous chases causing harm. And an update on that lockdown at an Oakland high school this morning. Police were called to Skyline High for a report of a gun on campus. Our chopper was overhead as officers searched and spoke with students there, but they did not end up finding a gun. They say everybody cooperated. All right, turning to our first alert weather, because it is just about the weekend. Taking a live look outside over Fisherman's Wharf. Here is meteorologist Jessica Birch.
And tell me it wasn't the craziest week ever when it comes to the weather, right? I mean, we kicked off this week, first things first, with an earthquake. Suddenly, Tuesday, we were talking about a heat advisory. Wednesday and Thursday were stormy days on and off throughout the Bay Area, and somehow we made it to Friday. And daytime highs today, they're still a little bit above average as we head into this afternoon. 4 degrees above average actually down into San Jose. So I'm turning on the heat risk map, or the heat monitor map, just kind of showing you we are a little bit above average, widespread. Anywhere from Redwood City, a little bit above average all the way up into San Francisco, 3 degrees there. About 2 degrees above average this afternoon into Santa Rosa. But better yet, let me just show you those numbers. Daytime highs today, they're sitting in the 80s, all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley. We have some 90s trickled in there off into the East Bay. This will be one of the warmest days this weekend. I promise by tomorrow, we're down into the 80s in the East Bay. By Sunday, we're down in the 70s. So a big drop down right around the corner as we head into this week's forecast. Some other things to mention too, though. We will continue to see some cooler weather just along those coastal communities as we expect daytime highs to sit mostly in the 70s and 60s. We're actually going to see those winds kick up a lot more as we head into the afternoon hours today too along our coast. So places like Half Moon Bay are dealing with strong winds, 60s in the forecast, while some of us in our inland areas deal with lighter winds and a little bit warmer weather around the corner. I'll have this weekend's forecast coming up in just a bit, but for now, back to you.
Thanks, Jess. There are more than 10,000 homeless people living in Santa Clara County, 10,000. And now a supervisor says she has a plan to partner with the city of San Jose to get more people into homes. That proposal comes from Supervisor Betty Duong. She wants to increase access to health services and to improve coordination, connecting people with permanent housing. A man who goes by the name Roadman spoke at today's announcement. He spent 8 years in city and county homeless programs and said the lack of coordination led him to fall through the cracks.
I'm not alone. There are so many people in our community who just need the same opportunity, a safe place a little support to get back on their feet. I agree with Supervisor Young is proposing.
Well, she and Mayor Matt Mahan are going to formally propose their plan at a Board of Supervisors meeting next Tuesday. San Francisco celebrating some street safety improvements in Soma this morning. Mayor Daniel Lurie joining community advocates to mark the completion of the 6th Street Pedestrian Safety Project. Before the start of it, 6th Street had one of the highest concentrations of severe and fatal pedestrian collisions in the city. The city says someone was hit walking or biking every 16 days. But now it says with the completion of this project, pedestrian injury collisions have dropped by 50%. Well, get this. President Trump says he would consider moving the World Cup out of cities that he doesn't think are safe. Of course, the World Cup coming here to the Bay Area next year. He made these remarks while answering questions in the Oval Office yesterday, and he was asked about his policy of sending National Guard into cities and what he thought of crime in San Francisco and Seattle.
Of any city we think is going to be even a little bit dangerous for the World Cup or for the Olympics, where they have Olympic overthrow, right? But for the World Cup in particular, because they're playing in so many cities, we won't allow it to go to, we'll move it around a little bit. But I hope that's not going to happen.
So the World Cup is scheduled to come to Levi Stadium in Santa Clara next summer. There are 6 games scheduled for June and July. Pre-sale tickets already on sale for Visa customers. The next round of tickets is going to be released at the end of October. And the World Cup draw is going to take place in December at the Kennedy Center. The World Cup is organized by FIFA. It's not clear if the president has any power to actually move host cities. Oh, this just in. Sinclair stations are going to resume airing Jimmy Kimmel Live on its ABC affiliates tonight. Dozens of stations continued to preempt the late-night talk show, despite its comeback on Tuesday. In a statement, Sinclair says it has a responsibility to serve the interests of its local communities while honoring obligations to air national network programming. The show was suspended earlier this month after Kimmel's on-air comments about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Nexstar-owned ABC affiliates have also preempted the show. The company has not indicated whether it will bring it back on air. Former FBI Director James Comey claiming his innocence following his indictment on 2 federal counts. He faces 1 count of obstruction of justice and 1 count of making false statements related to Senate testimony in 2020 in which he denied authorizing leaking information to the media. The case was brought by newly sworn interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, White House aide and former personal attorney to President Trump. Comey is scheduled to appear in court October 9th.
Please, order in the hall.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered a defiant speech at the United Nations General Assembly in the face of international backlash for Israel's war in Gaza. Some delegates clapped, others walked out as Netanyahu took the stage. He warned that the fight against Hamas is not over yet. The militant group still holds a number of Israeli hostages taken on October 7th, 2023.
The final remnants of Hamas are holed up in Gaza City. They vow to repeat the atrocities of October 7th again and again and again, no matter how diminished their forces. That is why Israel must finish the job.
As Netanyahu spoke, thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters gathered nearby in Times Square, calling Israel's leader a war criminal and demanding an end to the war. President Trump announcing a new round of tariffs starting in just a few days. He's targeting a broad range of imports that could affect everything from the medicines we take to home improvement projects. CBS Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Brady breaks it down.
The president has announced he is instituting 4 new sets of tariffs, and they are set to go into effect next Wednesday, October 1st. So let me run you through what might be changing on that date. So one, you're going to see a 100% tariff on pharmaceutical goods coming from outside the U.S. Into the country. You're also going to see a 50% tariff on kitchen cabinets and bathroom vanities, a 30% tariff on upholstered furniture, and then a 25% tariff on heavy-duty trucks. So think your big rigs. And I know a lot of you at home are saying, well, I don't drive a big rig, so that doesn't impact me. But truck drivers, the trucking industry, it does power our supply chain. It is often how goods reach you at the grocery store or whatever product you might be buying at the store. And so if that were to cost a little bit more, it could potentially trickle down to some of the prices that you see at the store. But I want to zero in on pharmaceuticals for a second, because that's really the big one. The industry had been expecting this tariff. The president had floated it in the past, but 100% tariff, it could mean higher prices on medications for Americans, potentially less access to those medications, and then higher insurance costs. However, the president has stated his goal is to bring the supply chain here to have those drugs manufactured in the country for national security reasons. And if there is a company that has committed to breaking ground or is in construction on some of those new facilities, they would be exempt from that tariff. And I will highlight drug companies such as Eli Lilly, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson. They have already, ahead of this, committed tens of billions of dollars to manufacture their products here in the U.S. So all in all, you could see higher prices for a lot of these different goods, but you could also see companies decide to manufacture more of their products here. Or some of these companies may also decide to eat some of that tariff versus passing it on to you, the consumer. So it is going to be a wait and see, and you really wouldn't see or feel the impact of these tariffs for another few months or so.
All right, still ahead here at noon and streaming on CBS News Bay Area. Squirrels on the attack in the North Bay. We have a warning for neighbors. And as the 49ers look to stay in the win column, we're looking at the quarterback situation. That is ahead in our Red and Gold report. Oh, this is pretty wild. Squirrels on the attack in San Rafael. A handful of people were bitten, scratched, and attacked, some even ending up in the emergency room. Reed Cowan takes us to the normally quiet Lucas Valley.
No, really. Attack squirrels. And if you don't believe me, believe the signs of neighbors warning neighbors and the neighbors themselves. 5 and counting. Some ending up in the emergency room, like Joe, who got his ear gnawed on and doesn't want to be on camera.
He came down on here and he started gnawing on this fence.
Wait, those are teeth marks?
Those are teeth marks.
You are kidding me.
No. So he come over here and he started gnawing again. I took my hat off to swat him off and he jumped on my head.
Joe's wife, Marie, watched what she calls a fast and mean attack.
Joe gets his baseball cap and hits it. And so she turns around and just jumps on his head, scratched his ear. And then she jumped on his leg. And so he tried to get her off.
Look at these photos taken of the squirrel just before that chunk out of Joe's fence and Joe's ear. A bigger squirrel than the others around here, say a lot of neighbors.
So that's when we went to ER. They thought, oh, yeah, it's a squirrel. They don't have rabies. So we thought, okay, that's it.
But that wasn't it. Look at this. The next day, the mean squirrel came back.
Grandma, watch this. Grandma, watch this.
Listen to Joe and Marie's grandchildren told to stay indoors.
Let him That's in. The same one, I think.
Let's let him in. Let me see.
No, don't let him in. She was on the side of our kitchen eating the mop. And it was like very hungry and wanted to be fed, I think.
Hangry. Angry and hungry.
Angry and hungry, yeah.
So now the signs are up. Neighbors are warning neighbors to protect their people and their pets, and the Marin Humane Society posting signs too, even going door to door with warnings.
And we're also told don't walk with shorts, don't walk with anything but heavy dungarees. And as you can see, I'm out here wearing jeans, not shorts.
You're keeping the rules.
I'm keeping the rules, and I don't want to be bit.
You're not being squirrely.
Not being squirrely.
Wow, the neighborhood working with the Marin Humane Society to try to track down the squirrel. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife suspects that it's a non-native species. They say it maybe is used to being fed by humans, or it could be being protective of babies that might be in the area. Back to our first alert of weather now, taking a live look in San Jose. Blue skies. Let's check back in with meteorologist Jessica Birch. Yeah, you were talking about the crazy weather we've had this week. Things are calm now?
Things are calming down now. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I mean, there still could be, I don't know, Think about it. I mean, we kicked off this week on Monday with an earthquake, and then suddenly on Tuesday we were talking about a heat advisory issued by the National Weather Service. I'm going to pull up the map right now below me. I'm going to show you a couple changes in the forecast as we head outside today. We started off with that live look down into the Santa Clara Valley. Today we're in the 80s, and yes, that is a little bit above average for this time of year. Not by much, but you're going to see that heat map kind of starting to build, especially off into those inland areas in that red color. A little bit above average conditions expected off into the East Bay this afternoon with 90s from Concord over into Walnut Creek. 90s to kick off this weekend's forecast all the way down into Livermore, 80s near Fremont. Now it's harvest right now up into wine country, and we have 80s in the forecast today. But the good news is you take a look at the East Bay in the 90s this afternoon. Tomorrow we're going to be in the 80s, and then we're going to be in the 70s as we head all the way into our Sunday forecast. So even though we're 8 degrees above average today in places like Concord, it will look a lot different right around the corner. Another thing to mention too, we're getting that nice onshore breeze in places like San Francisco, Half Moon Bay, keeping us nice and cool today. I want to show you those wind speeds behind me just to kind of associate those numbers with our local communities. San Francisco right now up to around a 9-10 mile per hour wind gust. Those winds a lot calmer in some of our valleys closer to the San Jose area, while it still stays nice and gusty along the coast. But better yet, let me show you what we can expect as we head into this weekend's forecast, not only along the coast, but in our inland areas too. Now, earlier this week, we had that heat advisory by the National Weather Service on Tuesday, where we jumped up into the 90s and even triple digits off into the East Bay. Today, we see a return of the 90s for at least one more day before low pressure starts rolling in. That fall-like forecast right around the corner will be down into the 80s by Saturday, down into the 70s by Sunday before more stormy weather returns into the forecast Monday, Tuesday, and potentially for a little bit on Wednesday too. We're going to keep a close eye on those rainfall totals just like we did this week. In total, we got close to around 1/4 of an inch just in the Santa Clara Valley region. We actually saw even more impressive numbers up into the North Bay too, close to around 1/10 of an inch in Napa, all the way over into Livermore. Now you make your way over into the Bay. We're also holding on tight to 70s each day. This fall-like forecast is finally here after a very wild weather week. For now, back to you.
This is the Audi Red and Gold Report.
Let's start with the good news. Brock Purdy says he's progressing well from his toe injury. The bad news, it's shaping up to be another week where we don't know who is starting under center on Sunday. And you can't just ask Kyle Shanahan to name his starter quite yet.
Let me call him and ask real quick.
Yeah, you do that, Mac. Purdy was once again limited in practice Thursday, but was seen taking the first reps in quarterback drills. That's a good sign towards seeing Brock back on Sunday. But for now, Purdy is day-to-day with Jones ready to back him up if needed.
Really like where I'm at with the progress with it healing up and feeling better and dropping back, throwing, and like where I'm at. So it's been good.
Playing Sunday for sure.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm taking it day by day still, but feel a lot better.
Just like any other week, you're going through the week, getting ready for the game plans as a backup or a starter. So feel comfortable doing both, and I'll be ready to play.
For the Red and Gold Report, I'm Matt Lively.
Well, coming up, living longer is often tied to what you eat. But wait until you hear the one food that might have helped this woman reach 117 years old. A new study out this week reveals some clues on how to live a longer life. It is thanks to a woman who died last year in Spain at the age of 117. Maria Brañas Marrera was the oldest person in the world when she died last year. She was actually born in San Francisco, but lived most of her life in Spain. She survived 2 world wars and 2 pandemics. She had 3 children, 3 children and 13 great-grandchildren. She requested that doctors study her life to find answers about her amazing longevity. And now they say it was partly her genetics and partly her healthy diet, which included fish, olive oil, and lots of yogurt.
There are many reasons why she lived that much and with good health. One possible component relates to diet, of course. She ate 3 per day. Not 1, it's 3 per day. At the end, it reduced inflammation. And chronic inflammation is one of the main causes of aging and disease.
We should note that Marrera was never a drinker or a smoker, and she kept a close circle of family and friends. We'll be right back. Chicana artist Cecilia Perez is everywhere these days, collaborating with the San Francisco Giants, Sacramento Kings, and the worldwide clothing store Zumiez. Well, now for the second season in a row, her artwork is featured in the Giants Artist Series. That is a series that celebrates the intersection between sports, art, and our Bay Area culture. Cecilia's artwork tells a story of San Francisco through the lens of a Chicana. We're going to hear her full story coming up at 5 o'clock tonight. Meantime, that is it for the afternoon edition. Remember, we're streaming 24/7 on the free CBS News app. Just go to live and then choose Bay Area. Have a great Friday afternoon.